Stewart and Alice Smith. And it looks like we may have one of the outfits out of position there, have we? No, yellow flags have been put down now. So red flag taken away, green flag at the back. So it'll be all eyes to the lights. And it's Jeff Matthews pointing to the lights this time round. Lights are on, lights are out. And we are racing Jim Fayers and Mark Fox. They know how to get that ride triumph hooked up nicely. Greg Lambert on that luminous pink Formula 2 machine. They slot into second place, do they? No, it looks like they've just been challenged there. And it's almost bodywork coming in, rubbing together there as they go round the left-hander of Coppets over to the right-hander of Charlie's. That was certainly Greg Lambert, number 69, the first of the Formula 2s in third. But Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, Keith, they're leading the way.
Yeah, they most certainly are. Jim has hooked up very nicely indeed. He's got the power down on that Triumph powered outfit. I think that might be Patrick Ferrance in second place there. And I think Greg Lambert might be coming under a bit of pressure from somebody else there for that third place as they go side by side up towards the top of the circuit for the first time. Round Chris Curve we go then for the first of 8 times. And I think, unfortunately, James Fayers is suffering from a very badly bruised ego after getting beaten up by the F2s in the last race. So he's definitely looking to make amends of that as he leads down the hill. That is Holland and Stevens, who dive straight past Farrens into Mansfield. So watch this pairing, because these two are absolutely flying. They need to make up for that earlier disappointment with the DNF and see if they can clamber up a little bit higher than the 2 thirds they've managed so far. Obviously the absence of Wakely and Hilditch, their teammates, will definitely help in that particular cause. Everybody's made it round to the chicane safely for the first time, but we haven't actually completed the lap, so let's not call them too early, mate. As they go across the top of the mountain, they'll be swinging their way through the hall bends, through the left, through the right, down into the hairpin, up over the blind crest, down into Barn, and they should be re-emerging from those trees. And just how dry the track is, it's hard to believe there's any damn patches
Here we
left.
go, Keith. It's coming around to the end of lap number 1. Jim Fayers and Mark Fox lead the way, but less than half a second is the gap. In fact, it's 0.4 of a second over Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens, and then they have a 2-second advantage over Patrick Ferrance. So Ferrance and Parkin in third position, first of the Formula 2s, and it's Lambert up next. Greg Lambert, the number 69, the pink machine, the second of the Formula 2s. They are there in fourth position on the circuit. Morfitt and Kopok up next on the number 37, Buchanan and Evans, but the biggest mover there, making up 12 positions on the number 58,000cc machine, it is Lee Eastle and Alice Smith.
Not quite sure what sort of machine, what sort of engine is in the back of the Holland Stevens machine. I'd certainly know they've got a very similar chassis. They've both got the ride chassis as both of the leaders there as they make their way around Chris Curve, and they are separated by absolutely nothing at all. Down we go through the gooseneck. Now this is where Ben Holland was so strong. Fayers goes defensive. This time he's got a reason to go defensive, but Ben Holland, I think, is having a very good look at the outside. We'll see when they come round on Tybal. And yeah, that's Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens. They made that move stick. James went a bit too defensive there, so they didn't pay dividends for him, as it is now Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens who lead the way.
Certainly is, into the bottom of the mountain, through the left, over to the right, and Wayne Stevens moving over on the platform, then over to the right-hand side, and giving that driven wheel plenty of grip to go over the top, in towards Hallbends now. But Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, they did lead across the line, but it is now, as you say, Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens. They are the leading 2 on the circuit as they go in towards Hallbends then for the second time of 8. We're still showing as an 8-lap race for these guys. Good stuff for the BMC Formula 1 and the Formula 2s, and that gap is starting to open up already in just half a lap. So Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens come across the line now. There goes Jim Fayers and Mark Fox. 1.5 seconds is the gap. Next up, Patrick Ferrance on the number 74, Greg Lambert, and then Charlie Morfitt, in fact, on the number 37 is closing down. But at the end of the first of the flying laps in effect here, Keith, Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens, a 1 minute 40.8 compared to a 42.7 for Jim Fayers and Mark Fox. So Ben Holland, they've taken 2 third places, 1 DNF, but they want that victory.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to catch Patrick Ferrance, I don't think. It's a huge gap that Patrick has this time as he looks to make amends for the earlier wins for Mr. Lambert. I do wonder if actually Mr. Lambert might come under a bit of pressure there from Morfitt and Coppett, because they're not too far behind on that Suzuki powered machine. So battle of the manufacturers there as Suzuki chases after Honda, but certainly the measure of the Triumph is being tested very hard indeed. Though I do wonder exactly what Holland and Stevens have got underneath their bodywork there. Now I think Fayers and Fox will know that Stevens and Holland outfit, whilst it's in the championship, it's a fair way behind them. They come into this round 132 points to the good over that particular outfit. If it was Wakely and Hilditch, maybe they'd be pushing on a little bit harder, but they've got a very good advantage of 88 points over Wakely and Hilditch coming into this particular round. They lost out a little bit yesterday, but the points they picked up today and this afternoon, with any luck, they should extend that championship lead. In fact, by the end of this race, they should have 4 races in hand, which would be a definite bonus, as there's only 300 points left on the board. I don't think they'll be crowned their first champions of the year, but they could be our first 3-wheel champions of the year. Having said that, though, Greg Lambert and Andy Jeevens and Andy King enjoy a 104-point gap over Thomas and Sigsworth, so perhaps they could be our first 3-wheel champions instead. Whatever the case, Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens are certainly looking good for the gold. Fayers and Fox, they're looking good for the silver. And then in overall terms, the bronze is going to go to Patrick Varance there, who comes screaming past with let's say it's Connor Parker in the chair with him. And yeah, he's easily leading the F2s. What sort of lap times are we doing there, Bradley?
Lap times, I was just having a look. The quickest lap of the race on that lap is to Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens of a 1:39.4, and that means we're only a tenth of a second away from the fastest lap time of the weekend. So most definitely the track conditions are well, where they were yesterday, I guess. 39.4 is the quickest lap of the race so far. Everybody going personal best on that lap besides Charlie Morfitt in the number 37 outfit. But looking up towards the chicane once again, we can see that Jim Fayers and Mark Fox are in towards the bottom of the mountain. Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens are already over the top of the mountain and in towards Hall Bends now. And they've opened up their advantage again by another 1.9 seconds in that first sector alone.
I'm surprised actually Holland and Stevens have only got a couple of thirds, because if you look at the lap times from the race yesterday where they set that 39.39, they were almost 2 seconds quicker than anybody else in that particular race. So I'm surprised they finished a lowly third. They must have had a big wobble or some sort of problem there, because to go that quickly and just finish in third place seems a little bit disingenuous, doesn't it?
It does, but they're looking good at the moment with a 7.8 second advantage over Jim Fayers and Mark Fox. Here comes the leaders of the Formula 2s, and it is Patrick Ferrance and Connor Parkin. There goes Greg Lambert ahead of Charlie Morfitt. There is the number 69 and 37. And interestingly enough, I can see the pit boards are going out for Greg Lambert, but it's showing P4. So he's being given signals as to where he is overall, as opposed to in the Formula 2 class, which would be second.
Okay, that's interesting. I wonder why that is. Greg will obviously have his reasons. He knows his stuff. He doesn't teach sidecar racing by being a muppet, that's for sure. It looks like he's starting to establish that gap as well. He comes past me here, and all of a sudden that gap back to Morfitt and Ryder has gone out by a good extra second or so, I'd say. What is the gap between them, mate?
What's that, sorry?
The gap between Lambert and Morfitt.
Lambert and Morfitt was 1.4 across the line.
Yeah, I think it's gone out a little bit further than that, to be fair. He's looking very dominant now, Greg Lambert. Is he going quicker than Patrick Ferrance, though? I don't think he will be he?
He went a tenth of a second quicker on that previous lap, but it was a personal best for Lambert, and Patrick Ferrance went yellow. His fastest lap of the race so far, with 4 laps complete, is a 1:43.9. So we've got the yellow flag showing on the entrance to Coppice, but that is a stationary yellow at Coppice. I suspect there's a waved one at Charlie's 1, but we'll get information through very shortly. So yeah, gone.
Trying to listen on the radio, somebody has parked up the top of the circuit there. I think it's more of a mechanical failure than anything else. It is a blue outfit. I can almost see the number.
So the yellow flags have now been taken away as well, Keith.
Yeah, it is park safety. Driver and passenger out of the outfit, no problems at all there. Is it 22? We got a 22 in this race, mate.
Yeah,
Lithgow and Stewart. I think that might be them. Yeah, it looks like who it is, unfortunately. So they'll take no further part in this race and give the recovery teams something to do as the leaders race past that particular point. And the gap first to second, I can't believe that's almost the length of the straight here at the moment. This is as dominant a performance as we've seen all weekend, isn't it? Usually these races have been settled by a couple of seconds at worst. This one's going to be settled by the proverbial country mile. Looks like Lambert is closing on Ferrance there, but not by enough, I don't think, even though this is an 8-lap race, a relatively long race for a club race around here. Buchanan and Evans put a wheel in the dirt on the exit of Charlie's there, but fortunately it's the non-driven wheel, so it doesn't give them any great problems at all.
I think we may have a good battle here for the final podium position in the Formula One's, Keith, because Lee Eastill and Alice Smith, they're 0.6 of a second ahead of Will and Andy Smith, and they were locked together almost on the circuit as they came across the line, so only just over half a second between the 58 and the 32. We'll try and pick them up as they go out of the chicane and into it now. But Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, the second position, the number 65, they're over the top of the mountain now and are coming into the bottom of the mountain. Let's have a look at the first sector times. Greg Lambert is 0.9 of a second quicker than Patrick Ferrance and Connor Parkin in that first sector. So the gap that was 2.4 seconds is now only 1.5 seconds as they go into sector number 2. Across the line very shortly there will be Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens. In fact, they're coming into the pits. Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens are in the pits. Your race leaders, number 100 into the pits. So it won't be a victory this weekend. It will be 2 DNFs on the day, unfortunately, for Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens. But I'm not sure what's happened to the machine. I suspect it's a machine issue here. We're looking, and Ben Holland is almost beside himself. And Wayne Stevens comes around to console him. But a great shame there. Out of the race lead at the end of lap number 5 for Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens. Oh, they're gutted, and we are gutted for them because they're just consoling one another. That is a massive shame for the race leaders as Jim Fayers and Mark Fox now inherit a 9.2 second race lead over Patrick Ferrance and Connor Parkin, and the gap is now 1.7 seconds between Patrick Ferrance and Greg Lambert. Charlie Marfitt is up next, 3.9 seconds adrift, and then that battle between Eastill and Smith and the number 32 of Will and Andy Smith, that was separated by just over half a hundred, so 0.06.
That's very much a family battle, of course, because Will and Andy, I think they're brothers, and Andy's daughter Alice is on the side with Lee Eastill, so that's definitely a bit of a family battle going on there. And apparently Sam and Jack Laidlow have a young sister called Katie, who does the pitboarding for them as well, and we often see her on Country File with her flock of Herdwick sheep, so there we go.
The more you know. I didn't know that.
The more you know. No, it's all good. It's all been fed to me by Daphne Smith there, so thank you very much indeed for the information there, Daphne. I'll remember that when the Laidlows are out later. Okay, all good. So how many laps have we got left, mate?
We have 1.5 to go because our race leader, number 65 of Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, they're already in towards the hairpin now on that short burst between the hairpin and barn. And we may have a tail ender coming into play here, but they do have an eye on 10-second advantage now as they make their way out of barn and across the start-finish line to start the final lap. So just 2.4 miles left in this race. Here comes the number 74, Patrick Ferrance and Connor Parkin, and Greg Lambert. Let's have a look. It was a 43.3 on the previous lap. It's now a 46.8. So I suspect that Greg Lambert may have made a slight mistake on that lap because he's dropped 3 seconds, and the gap between himself and Patrick Ferrance is now 5.2 seconds. Morfitt and Coppock, Eastill and Smith, Buchanan and Evans looking up the road now for the number 32 of Will and Andy Smith, and they're not coming towards me, Keith. So the number 32 of Will and Andy Smith, they should have been through now, but they've not reappeared.
Okay, that's a great shame for them. So all good news for Fayers and Fox as they look to continue their success in this class. Oh, we got a passenger out there. Sorry, mate. I just see outfit going wide there, and that's going to be Fayers and Fox out of the game because that is Mark Fox. Unfortunately, he is taken to the grass like Cheech and Chong on a Mexican holiday. I guess he went for the flick there and he's been flicked out. Of course, the rules say that you must be in touch with the outfit. I'm sure that's Mark Fox I just saw taking the tumble. Mark is up and he's perfectly okay. He's just walking back to the marshal's post with the marshals on board. But that's going to be nil poir, unfortunately, for Fayers and Fox in this race.
It seems though the race lead is a little bit cursed at the moment in this race because Ben Holland and Wayne Stevens retiring out of the race lead. Jim Fayers and Mark Fox, there will be a retirement out of the race lead as well. But on this final lap, it's Patrick Ferrance and Connor Parkin in the Formula 2s. They inherit the overall race lead, and this then will be race win number 2 if they make their way out of barn. Greg Lambert. Greg Lambert and Andy Haynes across the line now, and they will take second position. Charlie Morfitt, Lee Eastill, and then the number 71 coming across the line now. So it's Charlie Morfitt and Lee Eastill who come across the line, third in the Formula 2s, and that means that the number 58 of Lee Eastill and Alice Smith do take victory in the Formula 1s. Buchanan and Evans up next, rounding out the overall top 5. As Smith and Smith, the number 32 outfit, do drop down the timing screen, as do the 65 of Jim Fennis.
Where did Smith and Smith finish earlier, mate?
Earlier on, they are showing as a non-starter today.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's okay. Sort of make sure I got my points sorted out here, because we do have the Tim McGrain Trophy to give out here, and just kind of doing it on the points basis and trying to factor in a few other things as well. All right, just wanted to make sure, because I did think I'd missed them earlier, but no, I haven't actually missed